Hello, and welcome to a video tutorial of the Energy3D software that you will be using for your Smart Cities Energy project. Today I'm going to go through a few of the options and aspects of the software, but it's important to keep in mind that Energy3D is a very capable piece of software, and I encourage you to explore it on your own because we'll cover just a very small portion of what this software is capable of. So with that, let's get started. Taking a look here at the desktop environment for Energy3D, there's a couple of main areas. First, we have this area here with the green that represents ground, and we have some sky and clouds in the background, and then we have this gray square right here. This is our foundation, and when you open a new project in Energy3D, it will include a person there. You can left click and hold on the person to move them around. You can right click and change the person. They're there just to provide some aspects of scale for your project. So we're going to cut them out right now so that we just have the blank foundation. Also in the project window, you'll find down here in the lower left this compass rose. Because we're dealing with the sun, this is an important aspect of your project, so it's important to keep in mind which direction things are facing, etc. To the right of the project window, right over here, you'll see this gray area. This is the project information windows. Most important for us to start is right up here. This is the location, so we can select the location for our project. There's a lot of cities in here. I recommend that if your exact city is not in this menu, that you choose one that's close to your city. So for me, I'm in Norway. There is one city that's in this database from Norway, and that's Oslo. So I'm going to press O and then use my mouse to scroll down. Here you can see Oslo, Norway. So I'm going to select Oslo as my city. You could add in the latitude that you're using, but when you select a city, Energy3D is also going to include some weather information as well, which will make your analysis more accurate. So project window, project information window, then up at the top we have a series of icons here. We're not going to go into all of them, but you can explore if you will. We will use a few of them today. You can see that some of the icons have this little down arrow next to it. If you click on the down arrow, left clicking on the down arrow brings up another set of information that you can look at, more options as well. So keep that in mind if you see one of these down arrows. Above that, we have a series of menus: file, edit, view, analysis, examples, tutorials, and helps. We're going to use, we'll talk about a couple of these today, specifically analysis. I'll talk about tutorials and help now. These can be a good place to begin if you're with Energy3D. It gives you some basic information about the science and some help on using the software if the tutorial is not enough for you. So that said, let's take a look at our project area here. Right now we have a blank project, a blank foundation. Inside Energy3D, you can have multiple foundations, but I recommend that you only build on a single foundation. And that's because when it comes to doing the analysis, the Energy3D software will only analyze one foundation for you. So if you have multiple foundations in your project, it's only going to analyze for one of them. So keep that in mind. In terms of the foundation, you can change the size and shape of the foundation to fit your project. You can do that a couple of different ways. The first way is if you left click on the foundation, you can see it brings up a series of nodes. Some of them are orange, like this one, and some of them are white, like this one. Left clicking and holding on the orange nodes allows you to move the foundation around your project area. So that's orange nodes, left clicking and holding. And if you do the same, left click and hold on the white nodes, you can change the size and shape of your project. Another way you can change the size and shape of your foundation is by right-clicking on the foundation itself. Right-clicking on elements inside of Energy3D is going to bring up a properties menu. And you can see there's a lot of properties with this foundation, but we're really just interested in the size here. So if I click on size, left-click on size, you can see I can set the size of my foundation. So I can do that quite precisely. I'll say I want one that's 10 meters by 10 meters. I'm going to click apply, left click here, and you can see it's my foundation down. So that's how we change the size and shape of our foundation. Now that I have the foundation, the size and shape that I want, now let's add some elements to the foundation, and we're interested in solar panels. So coming up here, you can see we have lots of different icons up here. This one right here, which looks like sort of like a bunch of rectangles sort of joined together with a little base, this is the add solar panel rack. Now, if we go to the down arrow to the right, you can see we can add a solar panel rack, a single solar panel. And then there's a bunch of other options. These are also related to solar energy, but we're not going to use them for our project. Again, explore on your own. But I want to add a solar panel rack. So I'm going to click on solar panel rack. Now you can see I have this grid coming up. And when I bring my cursor over my foundation, now I'm dragging a solar panel rack with me. And that grid is sort of snapping the solar panel to the cross points of that grid. So I'm going to move it to where I want it, say here, and then I'm going to left click to set it in place. So now I've got one solar panel in place. I want to add another solar panel. You could right click on the solar panel, copy and paste. But since I know I want the same thing that I had the last time, I'm just going to go up here to the icon, click Add Rack of Solar Panels. Again, one left click there, bring it in. Notice how this additional rack turns red, and that's because they're overlapping. We don't want to put it there. So now we move it until it goes back to blue, and then single left click, and we've locked it into place. Again. So now I've got a foundation with two solar panel racks on it. You can notice that I'm moving around here, getting different views. When you're adding solar panel racks, it can be helpful to look from the top. How I'm doing that is I'm taking the left mouse button, clicking and holding, and that allows me to rotate around my project. If I take the right mouse button, click and hold, this changes my perspective to the project. But notice that the compass rose down at the bottom is no longer moving. So I have two solar panels here. I want to analyze how much energy they can produce for me. So in order to do that, I'm going to come up to the menu option here, which says analysis. I'm going to left click there. There's lots of things I can analyze here. One thing which you might find important is the monthly sunshine hours. Since we're talking about solar energy, that could be important, but I'm going to focus on the solar panels. And for solar panels, I can have a daily analysis or a annual or yearly analysis. So I'm going to look at the annual yield of these two solar panels. So I'm going to left click on that. Notice it brings up this window here, which looks like an empty graph. On the x-axis, I have time in months, and on the y-axis, I have energy per day in kilowatt hours. There's no data in my graph. That's because I haven't analyzed anything yet. And you can see I have weather data from Oslo, Norway. That's why it's important to make sure that you always set your location as the first thing when you're taking up a project. So let's put some data in here. I'm going to click Run. And what it's done is it's analyzed for every hour of every day of every month for a whole year. How much energy can I get from these solar panels? And it turns out that the annual output is 1,708 kilowatt hours. You can notice that I'm generating much more energy in the summer than I am in the winter months here. That could be useful to know. Maybe that has something to do with where I am located. So I've done one run. And the question is, is there something I can do, something that I can change, some variable that I can play with that can get me more energy here? The answer is yes, there's lots of things that we could, lots of variables we could play with to try to get more energy from this project. I'm going to close this. And when I do, it's going to ask me if I want to keep the results of the run in this graph. And I'm going to say yes, because as I change variables, I want to see if they have an impact. I want to see, am I generating more energy or less energy than what I had before? So I'm going to keep that as a yes. So I have two solar panels. It generated 1,708 kilowatt hours. What happens if I add two more solar panels? So I'm going to click here. Again, I'm going to bring in a rack, set it right here, and one more time, bring in a rack, set it right here. Boom. So now I've got 4 racks of solar panels. Now, if I analyze again, I should expect that there should be some sort of change happening here. So again, I'm going to go back to analysis. I want to run solar panels, annual yield. Again, left click here. Now you can see I have this yellow line here. This was my run with just the 2 solar panels in it. So it's already in there. I'm going to click Run again. And now I've got a new run. And you can see that I've generated 3,416 kilowatt hours of energy with the 4 racks of solar panels. So more than what I had before. More racks means more energy. At least that's what the Energy3D simulation is telling me. Now, this graph right here, this is a good graph for getting a quick look at how the variables that you're changing are affecting your project. But it's not really a proper graph that you would say include in a lab report. But you can get the data out of Energy3D. If you go up to Options, you can see View Raw Data. Click on that, and you can see here for each month, it gives me the raw data figures for that particular month. Obviously, month, this corresponds, 1 would be January, 12 would be December, and then this is kilowatt hours of energy right here, kilowatt hours of energy. So I'm going to hit close. So with that, you can pull data out and bring it into, say, Excel and graph the data yourself so that you can have a better looking graph for your lab report or for your project report. Once again, I'm going to hit close. It's going to ask me if I want to keep the results. I'll say yes. Again, a couple of other things to take a look at. First off, going back over here to the project information window, you can see that it gives me the area covered by my foundation. This could be important. So this automatically calculates the area for that foundation. But it gives me more data. It tells me the number of solar panels that I have just 20. Why is it 20? Well, each rack contains 5 panels, and I have 4 racks, so that's 20 solar panels. It tells me the average land occupied by each panel, that's 5 meters squared. Total surface area of the panels, all the rack here, gives me that. And the total cost over 25 years for these 4 solar panels. Now this is in dollars. If you're in a country that uses a different currency than the dollar, which most likely you are, you just need to convert that into your own local currency, be that euros or pounds or kroner, as the case may be. So that can be very helpful in your project here. And that's being done automatically for you while you build your solar panel array. I want to just zoom out here for a second and show you 2 more features which may be of helpful to you in your project. So we have the solar panels here. We're obviously interested in the sun. We can't see the sun here. I mean, we can see the sky, but we can't actually see the sun. One way that we can see the sun, however, is with this icon here. It says show heliodon. And the heliodon is basically an overlay of the position of the sun at various times during the year. Now, when you select the heliodon, it's going to look different for every location. And the sun's always going to come in at the same position. Now, the date, according to this project, is December 6th, but the sun would not be at its highest position on December 6th. This is just the default location of the sun. If I change this by 1 month, if I go up to January 6th, you can see here's the location of the sun on January 6th, quite low in the sky for us here in the north. If you're interested where the sun would be, of course, you can use the project information window and change the date and time, or you can just left click and hold on the sun and you can drag it around to wherever you might. And you notice that all this information in the project information window is changing automatically with the position of the sun. Definitely helpful for your project. One other piece of information that might be helpful, because we're talking about the sun, we're also interested in the effects the sun has. Solar panels are susceptible to anything that blocks the solar panel is going to obviously decrease the amount of energy that it could produce. And that could be debris or it could be shadows. So shadows can be cast by trees, buildings, etc. But for us, it's probably shadows cast by another solar panel perhaps. So I can show shadows by clicking on this icon right here. And now you can see that in relation to the sun, my solar panels are casting these shadows. It's important to know where the shadows are in your project, because this could impact how much energy you have. If you have a panel that's casting a shadow on another panel at certain times of the year, that could be important to know. So I'm going to get rid of the shadows and I'm going to get rid of the heliodon. One last thing I'll talk about, I'm just going to zoom in here a little bit more. As I mentioned, there's a lot of information here. If you right click on a solar panel, there's lots of things that you could change in order to help increase the amount of solar energy. Things like changing the pole height. The poles are the things that these solar panel racks are resting on. Adding a tracker, which will actually move the solar panel in relation to the sun. Changing the tilt of the solar panel in relation to the sun. Obviously you want to try to have the solar panel facing the sun, and if you can make that happen, maybe you can generate more energy for you. So there's a lot of different options you can see here. You can also change different aspects of the individual cells inside your solar panel rack. There's a lot of things that you can adjust here in order to try to get the best and most efficient solar energy system possible for your project. In addition, as I started off with at the beginning, Energy3D is a software with lots of things that you can explore. It doesn't just do solar panels, it does a lot of other stuff as well, and I encourage you to explore it, and recognize the true potential of Energy3D. I hope this tutorial has been helpful, and I wish you good luck with your Smart Cities Energy project.